Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast. I love repeating myself. It's actually one of my favorite things to do, but I sound like a broken record at this point. But I will say it again because what I have to realize is even though I post, whether it's on Twitter or TikTok every now and then when I'm feeling jiggy, or my Instagram clips of this incredible podcast, letting everybody know that we are now on Spotify with our own feed and everywhere you can find podcasts, not just Spotify, but also Apple. And I'm not even really sure what other places you can find us, but I promise if you search Death, Taxes, and Bananas, this guy's face will pop up. But we are no longer under the Ringer reality television feed on YouTube or on Spotify. We have our very own. All right. I'm all grown up. I have finally, left the nest, and now I'm off to fend for myself. So do me a favor. Follow us on YouTube and hit this subscribe button. All right. Just hammer away at this subscribe button, and then you will never miss an episode. And you'll be notified every time one comes on. So if I get one more message or one more DM or one more comment, like, oh my God, I can't find your podcast, it's not coming up anymore, it's because we have our own. All right. Subscribe on YouTube. Do yourself a favor. All right. It'll be the best decision you made in 2025, other than getting a sleeveless turtleneck. Like I said, follow us on YouTube at Death, Taxes, and Bananas. Follow us on Instagram at Death, Taxes, and Bananas. And obviously on Spotify, Death, Taxes, and Bananas with Johnny Bananas. Without further ado, let's get into it. As we know, the only guarantees in life are death, taxes, and bananas. Today's guest is a guy who's no stranger to stepping in the ring. Whether it's calling fights for MMA, covering Misfits boxing, or even throwing hands himself. And he doesn't wrap up his hands when he fights. Ben Davis made the leap from broadcasting to competing on the challenge. And let's just say his debut went about as well as his first bare knuckle boxing match, ending in a knockout loss, unfortunately. But here's the thing about Ben. Not only has the guy not seen the sun since 1974, but in the fight game and in the challenge, it's not about whether you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up. And I got to give this man all the credit in the world, because despite the hits he's taken, both literally and figuratively, he keeps coming back swinging. And you know what? He's kind of like me, down to try anything twice. So the best fighters aren't the ones who never lose. They're the ones who get dropped, dust themselves off, and step back into the ring. So today we are going to talk about his transition from the mic to the madness, what it takes to survive a KO both inside the ring and inside the challenge house, and why the fight isn't over until you stop getting up. Even if you got knocked down by Derek Chavez, which very few people can say that they've done. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome my main man, Ben Davis, to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast. Welcome, sir.
Oh, my man, Johnny Bananas. Thank you. Beautiful introduction. And you are correct. I have not stepped outside in several decades. And Edward Cullen, good cousin of mine. You might know him. But yeah, I got to get some sun, dude.
You look good. So, I guess you're in Manchester, right?
Yep.
Down under, put another shrimp on the bobby.
That is the wrong country.
They speak Dutch where you're at, I'm assuming, right? Australia?
I think Dutch is the first language, the
primary
language over there.
Unreal. So it's true what they say there. The sun just doesn't come out there.
It is literally overcast as fuck right now.
We could not be. It's so funny because I was looking at the two of us before we came on. I'm in South Florida. It's like I'm in the sun every day. And I'm pretty sure, like, you've been following Dracula around and just like, you're like, if the sun's on, like, that's why we had to record this. We're actually recording this in the dead of night because if the sun touches Ben, he ignites on fire.
Yeah, no, my coffin's right over here. And whenever I conclude the day's activities, I just go get a couple naps in. No worries, a little O negative blood. That's all we need.
Please tell me that if you were to take your jacket off right now, there would be no sleeves on that black shirt you're wearing.
I have some bad news. This is one of the sleeved turtleturnecks, but the sleeveless one is right over there. I could go grab it. Maybe it'll make a cameo.
We're going to get into that. Cannot wait. All right. Well, how the hell you been? What have you been up to since? I mean, listen, dude, we've all been there before. We've had to watch ourselves, suffer a, I was just there last week. Humiliating defeat. What's it been like? How's the fan reaction been? Do you have any friends that are like refusing to talk to you at this point? Like what's up?
My parents disowned me, and their reasoning was losing a physical elimination to Derek Chavez. Yeah. No son of mine. Yeah. Yep. So, no, I think it's been okay for the most part. The fans, I think, understand that like me and physical eliminations or challenges it's just not where I think I'm best suited, even against someone that I probably should have gotten by in Derek Chavez. So tough night at the office. Definitely did not like seeing that at 3 a.m. yesterday, just watching me getting squished. Yeah. But I will say this, the editing made it, I would say, better than it was. I think in reality, he did me a little dirtier.
I can relate because I feel like they actually edited me against Gabe better too. Like they actually, until you saw the time differential, okay, I was like, oh man, yeah, this actually looks like a real barn burner here. Who's gonna win? Then they show the time at the end. It's like Bananas, 11 minutes. Gabe, 3 seconds. But you know what? Listen, I say this, okay, and I say this to people all the time who have never done a physical, especially like a football style elimination. Low man always wins, and it really is all about knowing how to hit. It's about knowing kind of the position to get your body in. It's knowing about leverage, and if you've never done that, running. I mean, it wasn't even Hall Brawl because Hall Brawl's head on. This was the only time we've seen this in the past. They did this on another challenge. It was called Oppenheimer. It's a really weird name. I guess it's like Oppenheimer because they're
like an atom smasher or something. Yeah, like collider.
Any of our fans or cast are going to understand what the fuck that means. I had to chat GPT it. I'm like, what's an Oppenheimer? Some weird sexual position? Like, what are we talking? DJ,
you're like, can I try an Oppenheimer?
Yeah. But yeah, if you've never done that before, it's almost like something that you have to do once. You almost have to lose once to be like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
It's almost like I would say the takeaway from me is anti-lowest man wins. High, I would have jumped over him. That's if I could redo it. I would have been leaping over him and seeing if I could maybe test that.
No, you want to fucking. It's like in UFC. I mean, it's a little bit different. You don't ground and pound because you're not taking the guy to the floor and beating the shit out of him. But you do want to like. You know when you see guys in the ring, it's like when they shoot and they get the guys and they're able to get under their legs and pick them up and drive them down. That's kind of what you want to try and do. It's called a form tackle in football. What you want to try and do is get down and get as low as you can and either knock them back, take them down, and then kind of run over them. Sort of what Derek was able to do in the second round. But I mean, again, you live and you learn, dude.
Well, that's like right before the elimination, right? We're resetting outside the arena. Gabe comes over, and that's the advice he said, right? Dude was on the practice squad for I think the Jaguars. He's like, lowest man wins. Just have a strong base, you'll be fine. And I think I took that too literally, though. I got too low to the point where I was just face down in the dirt.
Yeah.
No, there's lowest man wins, but don't go too low.
Don't go too low. All right. Before we get, we're going to talk about your time on the challenge. Before we get in, I'm always fascinated by people who have zero reality television background making the transition onto the challenge. Mostly because it's like, where the hell did you come from? It was almost like a fucking stork flew over the challenge and just like delivered you one day. But you went, obviously you were a UFC boxing MMA commentator, and you actually stepped into the ring. For those out there who don't know, like that was one of the most mystifying things when I met you. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy not only got into the ring and fought, but he didn't even wear gloves. Like he like went in and agreed to like do a. You're too pretty for that, dude. I'm like you've got such a great nose, Ben. Not to sound weird, but I'm like, weren't you worried about like that thing getting? You look at UFC fighters, and I feel bad for a lot of these guys because it's like unless you're one of the guys that's at the top of the game that's making like millions, it's like you guys are putting like permanently damaging your face, whether it's, their eyebrows, their ears with the cauliflower ear, their face and their nose for not a whole lot, dude. Like you're permanently maiming yourself. So weren't you a little bit concerned about that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was terrified. Like the fights I've had before the bare knuckle one, I was less concerned about injury or damage. We're all kind of low skilled guys. But the BKFC one was tricky, and I was kind of like high up on the card. And so, I'd have a lot of the red corner guys go out, compete before, and then come back. And Johnny, they all came back fucked up. They were bleeding, cuts everywhere. One dude was, he was sobbing in the corner after a TKO loss. So I'm like trying to get in the zone, and everybody around me is just getting brutalized. So I was a little bit like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into?
It almost would have been better if you wouldn't have seen them come back. You're like, I would rather stand over here because it's almost like ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, exactly. But look, we went out, we did it, checked the box, got knocked down 4 times, got up 5, and that's kind of how life goes for me. A lot of losses, but you just keep moving.
I mean, that's what I was saying. It's like as much as scary as the challenges and some of the dumb shit we've done on the challenge. I mean, I would do basically everything we've done on the challenge again, rather than step into the ring in a bare knuckle match, dude. Like, not happening.
Yeah, I think I went 0 to 100 a little bit on that.
Yeah,
I should have saved. I'm crazy, man. Like I try and be put together and be articulate and educated and whatnot. But there's a loose screw. There is some sort of loose screw in me for some reason, and
it's not for some reason. Welcome to the club, dude. All right. You know what took me a long time on the challenge to really come to grips with? Because I remember I used to always come on and I'd look around at everyone else. I'm like, man, these motherfuckers are crazy. You got Ashley Mitchell over here, drunk off her ass, fucking can't understand what the word she's saying. You got CT over here. Fucking murdering people and smashing their heads and eating it. And I remember looking around at these people and be like, man, they're like really unhinged. I mean, back in the day before they like started regulating our medication, I mean, people would show up with like 87 different bottles of pills. That was like it's like the redneck mating call, the pill bottle sound. But anyways, I remember looking at everyone, I was like, man, these guys are crazy. Like I'm the only normal one here. But what I had to come to grips with is the fact that it's like, no, I'm crazy too. I'm just a different breed. Like we're all crazy in our own different ways. Like a lot of people think of crazy as like unhinged, like you said, not able to like, I don't know, just be normal human beings. But crazy is also doing things that normal human beings cannot ever, fathom doing. Yours is getting into the ring, bare knuckles. Mine is doing 25 seasons of the challenge and dedicating 19 years of my life to psychological abuse.
It's funny because that point about regulation these days with the medication, the alcohol, whatever, they regulated it so much they didn't even give Theo his fucking inhaler on that mountain.
I know. Yeah, I know, dude. Or Olivia, her birth control.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No, boy, now they're like, all right, I think we've gone a little too far. Let's dial it back a little bit. All right, we need less people dying of asthma and less people getting pregnant. We should maybe like find a happy medium here. Okay, but how were you discovered though? Like, I mean, where did this come? Where the hell did you come from? Because when you walked into that interrogation room and you sat down at the table and it seemed like you were interviewing TJ. I'm like, where do we find this fucking guy?
Yeah, I was too locked in that moment. I was. After seeing everyone having like jokey affairs, laughing, I was like, why the fuck was I so serious? But no, this all came about in a really weird way. So last March, I was doing a show called Fight Circus out in Phuket, Thailand. It's kind of like this variety general entertainment combat show. And they brought in a big Hollywood director producer to assist on that one, bring some, new creative vision to the organization. And him and I had hit it off. Great time working with him in Phuket. We were debriefing the next week and just got on the topic of some of his work in reality TV and Hollywood. And as the conversation continued, he just asked, hypothetically, which one would you want to go on? And I had only seen one season of the challenge prior to that conversation. Truthfully, I was not a huge
was?
fan. It was Rivals 2. It was season 24.
Okay.
Which was, and I think you and I chatted briefly about that in the house. But that's a great season. That's a hell of a season to watch if you're only going to get one.
They used to, and they were. That's the unfortunate part, man. The seasons used to be a little. That was before we had security. That was still when we were kind of in charge of our own shit. Like there would be like a brawl, and they would expect us to go and like break it up. Producers would be like, "Hey, can you go stop this fight?" We're like, "They're not getting paid for what the fuck."
Yeah, I'm not getting paid for security.
Now
but
it could not. Again, if we're talking about them like overcompensating, like we're talking about medication, they've gone way too far in the other direction when it comes to our security now too. Before it used to be like we had some producers, but we still were kind of able to like, I don't know, have basic rights. Like I want to go and eat some food and drink some water without permission or go take a shit. Now it's like, oh, you want to go to the bathroom? Hold on. We got to call somebody and they got to escort you over. And then they got to check the toilet after you're done. And they got to make sure you're fucking eating enough fiber. Dude, now it's like, guys, can we, like, I just want to have some semblance of a normal life. Like I didn't sign up for, maximum. I didn't sign up for cell block D. Like what's going on here?
Do you think the president's in there, man, with the Secret Service, right? Stage in every room. I get you on that. But no, so we were chatting. I mentioned that I'd seen the challenge and like, oh yeah, that'd be a cool one to go on. And, funnily enough, he knows the casting director and she worked with him for many years. And he was like, well, let me just pop in and see where they're at in their casting process. And I was like, oh, no way. I'd appreciate that. Months later, like many months later, I'd completely forgotten that him and I had talked about this. But then I get a DM, a message from the casting director, and she was like, hey, I got something I want to talk to you about. Let me know if you have some time today. And really great intro call, excellent vibe. And, then I just went through that whole general process of submitting the tape, doing the medical, the physical, the psych eval, all that. And the entire time, Johnny, I was thinking, they're not going to fucking cast me. Like, there's no way. I know what they're looking for usually, and it's not me. I'm just a, regular guy with no reality TV experience.
In your mind, what are they looking for? Why did you feel like you didn't fit the mold?
Because it was like, I'm not the six-pack guy from Love Island. I'm not, Mr. Messi on Are You the One? It just wasn't. I just figured that was the,
Can I tell you something? This is, I think, a common misconception that a lot of people have, even fans that watch the challenge. They're like, oh my God, this guy was a beast. Why don't they have him on anymore? Why? Because the guy brought nothing to the show other than being like either physically imposing or a great athlete. That's not what makes. They would rather, and I've seen this time and time again, they would rather have somebody that is a fucking barstool athlete, okay? Someone like a beer league softball player that like goes and is kind of okay on the field, kind of get it done, but brings the reality, the house drama, and not even necessarily drama, just brings some sort of something to the table as far as, just being a personality or being able to kind of stir up drama. Or what I've noticed a lot about you, and you can tell on the show, you look at who they choose to narrate the episodes. Those are the people who are important to the show. You look at people who had very, very, very few confessionals this season. Okay. Those are the ones that aren't important to the show because it's like they're not helping. You need narration, right? You need somebody that could sit down in front of a camera and help drive the story along. And without that, they don't have a show. And that's why some of the worst seasons you see, you have these people on that aren't fucking funny, that aren't intelligent, that aren't, intellectual in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's probably what I would guess that's what they saw in you. Because, I mean, I watch a lot of your stuff too. I see, the clips you put out there and you're very articulate and you're very good at just like, it's like in a fight at breaking down what you're seeing and being an analyst. And that's one of the most important elements to the show. That and having sleeveless turtlenecks.
That's a must. That's a critical factor. No, and I feel like my ability to do that was impacted those first few weeks because it was difficult to acclimate to the challenge environment, the reality TV filming process, right? Like I was having I was having a tricky time in the beginning. Yeah. I'm glad they didn't show me crying all 9 times or whatever it was.
But that's part of it. This is that would be, okay. you're very familiar with the world that you're in, okay?
Yeah.
But doing what you did, coming out of knowing absolutely nothing about the challenge other than one season you watched years ago, going in and then trying to figure out that fucking landscape would be as difficult as me being a novice at best, MMA, whatever viewer, going in and trying to watch a fight and commentate and like know what the fuck's going on and like keeping it like I wouldn't know. I'd be a fish out of water. So you entered a very, very, very difficult and tricky arena with a lot of people, especially with the vets that have been there for a long time. I take it for granted because I've been doing this for so long. I mean, dude, I go in and it's like I just feel like it's another fucking day at the office. But it's like I have to remember, it's like, yes, I've also been doing this for 19 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I've done 25 seasons of this. So I go in and it's like, all right, I get it. But it's difficult, man. It's a very difficult, and especially for someone like you who came in and you were kind of like a man without a country. Like you were like, all right, where do I go? Am I part of the Brits? Am I part of the vets? Am I kind of somewhere in between? Am I working with them? So it's like, it was a difficult transition for you to make. And I think that you did you did what you could and you did your best at doing it. But again, you learn a lot. You learn more, as you know, probably. You learn more from your losses than your victories. So, I think you've probably had some big takeaways from this season, right?
Oh, a billion. There's so many things I do differently. So many moments where I was like, this would have been the more informed decision. This could have led to that. And even in that like nomination day where I start hearing my name and hear what Olivia had done the night before, I think there were some opportunities that I could have corrected it. There was a couple conversations I had, some that I didn't have that I think I should have. With CT Leroy. Leroy came to me right before we went down there for nomination, and he's like, "How do you think it's going to shake out?" And everyone had told me, Derek, Olivia, they were all like, "Okay, it's going to be close because of how things have changed, but you're still going to slide by." And so I told Leroy, I was like, "Yeah, man, I think I'm fine." And he's like, "Okay, cool," and then goes and votes for me. So I should have told him, like, "Lo, it's tricky, man. Hey, you don't want Jeremy in this house, dog. Leroy, think about it. That's a big threat. That's a man right there. Leroy, you don't want this guy in here. You want me. You want to burn me in week 12, man. You don't want Jeremy in this shit."
Well, see, but here's the thing, and I mean, we'll get into this later on, but you got to realize that they were playing, they were kind of playing two different games. And yes, that's usually the card that you want to play, the layup card. But the problem is, I think that there was too many people that were still trying to. I feel like it was almost like once I was out of the house and once I was gone, I think everyone was kind of like, the fuck do we do now? Like, who's the new target? And I think instead of going, like making another big move, swinging for the fence, I feel like because Jeremy would have been a big move.
Yeah.
Throwing Jeremy in, I feel like would have been a big move. I mean, he would have murdered that elimination. I mean, Derek wouldn't have stood a chance, but it would have still been a big move, and I think it would have shook shit up. But I think that such a atomic bomb was just dropped on the house that it was almost like, all right, let's go back to square one and let's try and get through this without stirring up or without making any more waves than necessary. So when you came in though, coming into the house, all right, you're trying to, you're like a newborn baby deer just trying to get your sea legs. Did you like when all the alliances were kind of, or when especially this Brit alliance, when this was being formed, I'm trying to think of where'd you room in the house? Were you downstairs kind of in that mess?
I was upstairs next to Nani, Aviv, Ashley's room.
That's right. Okay, so you were with Gabe, right?
Gabe, Rogan, and Jake. That was the
Gabe,
quad.
Rogan, and Jake.
Quad we were
Which is kind of weird because it's funny because then it was like you and Gabe who were kind of, I feel like, in no man's land together. And then it was like Rogan and Jake who were right away part of this UK alliance. So were you privy to kind of, and then, and then you had next door, it was kind of like, again, Aviv, Nani, Anissa, sort of, Ashley. They're kind of more on the vet side. And then you have like, the turbo and the CT contingency over here. So that is it would have been one thing if you were like in a room where everyone was kind of working the same way or on a floor or a wing, but it was kind of like everyone was going different directions. And you were probably just trying to figure out where to hitch your wagon.
Yeah, and like I realized quite quickly I wasn't hitching it to the same wagon that the other people I was rooming with were, right? So I felt not bad necessarily because it's part of the game, but lying to Gabe every single fucking day for weeks about like where my allegiances were, who I'm working with. I mean, I played the middleman for a good chunk of this season. That was the intention until like the midway point. Then I would have subscribed a little bit more openly.
So I guess that's my question then. So where were your allegiance? Because it's kind of unclear. It was kind of unclear to me.
So I would say the two pillars of the house, right? You had the Olivia side and you had the Johnny Banana side, right?
Yeah.
And I'd always kind of felt that there was the third underlying faction that was waiting for either of you or both of you to crumble. And I would say that I was in the third one, closer to the Johnny side. Consisting of a lot of the new threats. I know at least the conversations that I was a part of, maybe they were truthful, maybe they weren't, but Jeremy, Sydney, Lekka, I think CT was in that gray area. Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
He's firmly on the...
Come on, dude. Listen, man, this is the way that I see it. I read challenge houses like Neo fucking reads the Matrix. All right. I can literally look at this, what most people would look at as this jumbled up bunch of just random fucking numbers and equations and shit just flowing. And I can look at it and like actually make sense of it. Okay. And again, I think the only ones for me that were kind of like on the fence-ish, undecided, it seemed like you to an extent. It seemed like Gabe was only because he was persona non grata, because he basically, and they didn't really highlight this, but he pissed off and basically was on the outs with every single person in the house.
Yeah.
But I'd say Cedric, I'd say Will, although I think after the Mr. Studio Girl moment with me and D and that whole weird love triangle situation, I think even though he wasn't going to outright admit it, I think he was kind of burned a little bit for that. I felt like my room, I was in a good spot because I was with three of the new guys, right? Jeremy.
You're the barracks, man. You're the barracks.
I was in the barracks, and I was the only fucking non-military guy in there. It was pretty wild. But what ended up happening with Jeremy, and this is the unfortunate part about being in a house with people like Cara and Olivia, who have made it their life goal to do anything they can to, like, if I find happiness anywhere, they want to find a way to like ruin it. They're like, this man can't be happy.
You go, nope.
So they saw that like I was chumming it up with these guys, dude. Now was I sitting there talking game? Because Jeremy was trying to talk game to me every day. I'm like, buddy, you got the wrong guy. Like I'm sorry, but I have been burned too many times. I keep my cards very close to my chest. We could talk about everything else. What type of conditioner you use, why you're wearing a 5-year-old shorts. Like, I mean, fucking, I don't know, did you lose a bet and have to get a dragon tattooed on half your body? Like, we can have like some, surface level chats. But as far as like game talk, it's like it's not happening. But Olivia and Cara managed to get into his ear and convince him that I was coming after him. Based on some ridiculous statement I made on the bus day one, where I was like, all right, this Jeremy guy is going to be a threat. Girls of Eve, be careful if you partner up with him, because then based on how well he did, this could actually work against you, because it seems like this guy has no problem letting everybody know how good he is, and that could be a target. They then took that to him and was like, Bananas is targeting you, which could not be further from the truth. So
it's the funny framing, because everyone's thinking that, but then they'll frame it as Johnny's the one saying this. But no, it really was everybody, I remember.
And this is why I never fucking open my mouth, because anything that I say can and will be used against me. Okay? It can and will. Even if I don't say anything, they'll still somehow find a way. So that's why when I've then found out about, and it was unfortunate, but it was after I left, about the Lekka, D, Sydney, Jeremy, Tarzan, and James alliance, then the wheels started spinning. I'm like, wait a minute. Did Lekka fucking throw? Because then I knew, I was like, okay, Jeremy was obviously against me. His whole demeanor changed towards me, and I knew why. But I was like, did he convince Lekka to throw that challenge on a guy's day, which got me sent in? Was D playing me the entire time? Was he like
you start questioning everything. Exactly. You go a little paranoid.
Yeah. Well, when you've been burned as many times as me, you fucking question everyone. So that's why then I see obviously CT playing the CT game, which was really shocking to me this season, because he actually was even more disloyal to me than he's been in the past. CT and I are never going to fucking necessarily work together, but generally we kind of work parallel. So it's like we're not necessarily working together, but we're not working against each other. And this one, like, he was really on the anti-banana propaganda fucking bandwagon. And what I found so shocking about that is, especially what you see is happening now, is it's now turning into this vets versus threat situation. And I'm like, guys, like, you basically fucking whether you did it intentionally or you just were fighting this proxy situation, I'm now gone. So your best opportunity to like try and counteract or fight against this new threat thing is completely been gone. So the way I saw it, to get back to what my original statement is, it seemed like there was a lot. It seemed like there were more. There was two real sides, and then it just seemed like those two sides were then going to try and I don't know, pick off whichever the floaters were in the middle.
And I was perfectly content, waiting until that point and then going, hey, they've got the numbers. Let me get to that side and grift a little bit because, it was a self-preservation move. I came in there not really knowing anybody except for Jake. And then after realizing, okay, they're instantly on the Brit side, which isn't really where I'm at right now. Let's just play everything close to the chest. I remember after I won the daily challenge with Michaela, Leroy and Cedric came over that night to the bar, and both of them were like, Ben, you can't play so much in the middle. You got to make like some decisions. You got to really be working with people. And I was like, I think I am.
Yeah.
Also, you guys are doing Cedric, you're doing the same thing, man. You're playing the middleman too. Don't shit on me. That's hypocritical.
I know. Well, I felt like hypocrisy was a very, I felt like playing hypocritical games this season. Okay. I saw it more this season than I've seen in a lot of seasons. And again, not to like keep on relating it to like how it affected my game, but I felt like everybody was basically playing a game where it was like, all right, we're going to create this fucking alliance. It's all going to be against Bananas. We're going to have Olivia as the head of the snake. And then we're going to then pretend like it's not happening and pretend like it's like I'm the fucking crazy one for calling it out. Like when I sat there and I'm like, guys, like you say I'm not the fucking show, but you're making the entire show about me. And every single one of you, while you want to make it sound like, oh, we're just coming after America because whatever, guys, we know
it's coming at you. Yeah, it definitely
we know
was
what's happening here.
Yeah,
and
which
my thing was
I told you. I was like, that was.
Tell me, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining.
Yeah. Which is weird because I think this season got thrown in a blender instantly. And I don't think it was really truly initially on you. There were a lot of new threats day zero, right, that wanted to put Theo into that first elimination. I remember that. I remember hearing those conversations, right? That's why he got so upset at the bar. And then I think a couple people like pinned that on you as if you had originated that idea and the concept of, let's go for Theo instantly. No, you're not dumb enough to do something like that. It was the new threads and the rookies that were like, we're here. We want to take big swings. And, I think that's like, it just got off to the wrong foot this season. And I don't think it all really got back on the same page.
Here's why it got off to the wrong foot this season is because coming into the season, my thing was like, I'm going to try and get to know all these new people. This happens every season, but it's like there's half a house that I don't know who these people are. I'm going to try and like work with them. I don't know, get to know them. Hopefully they don't have some prejudged notion about who I am and how I play. And unfortunately, the way it all shook down and the way the room situation worked out is on the opposite wing, you had the two biggest anti-Johnny Banana propagandists, Cara and Olivia, basically brainwashing everyone, making it sound like I'm like the second fucking coming of Satan. And that was the problem is when I come in, dude, it's like I do this so many times. I don't have the energy, bro. I don't have the energy to sit there and politic day in and day out. I hold my. Again, I wait and I keep my powder dry until I actually have to make moves and talk. Usually I'm just like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to keep to myself and I'm going to let my competition speak for itself. Then you have Olivia who came in. I mean, this girl came in fucking hot, dude. And again, being paired up with Theo, already having that connection to the Brit Alliance, and then having no problem staying up until 3 a.m. every single day, just like hammering propaganda in these new kids' heads. I mean, it was like there was no way for me to fight against that, you know?
And I would say it went both ways a little bit, right? Because a couple of the new threats approached Olivia, like you said, with those notions. And to be fair, Johnny, you're a 7-time champ. Of course, people are going to walk in the house and they haven't met you, directly before, and they're going to think, "Oh shit, like he's dangerous."
Okay, well then let me ask you this then. What makes somebody, and this is what I'm always confused about. What makes somebody, if I came into the house and there was somebody that was good, you know what I would do? I'd be like, let me see how this guy operates. Let me befriend this guy. Let me see how this guy operates. Let me like learn from him. And then I don't know, maybe down the line. But it always works the exact opposite. I go into a house and instead of people wanting to like band together with me, they're like, let's get this motherfucker out of here.
No, I agree with that. There's the two sides of it. But I think with people going up to Olivia and having those thoughts, it's almost like they're serving her, a steak on a plate. Of course she's going to eat it, right? If they're coming to her going, I want to work with you and I'm thinking Johnny's this and that. It's in Olivia's best interest to just like go with the flow on that and be like, you're right. You're those thoughts you had coming into the house, I guess those were correct, right? And it's a good social game. Like she was a hard worker on the social game this season. Got to give her that.
I found it funny how when her and Justin won the challenge, where it was when that was one where I think me and America got sent in. Her advice to Justin was, because he was gunning for either Izzy or fucking Adrienne.
Yeah.
Her advice to him was, listen, Justin, you know what you should do? Put the past away. All right. Whatever they did, you know what you do? You make nice with them, water under the bridge, extended olive branch. It'll work out for you down the line. Just forgive and forget. Be the bigger person. And I'm talking about hypocritical. I'm literally sitting there being like, Olivia, you're holding on to something that happened last season, okay, that really had nothing to even do with you. You were just collateral damage in this war between me and fucking Tori. Yeah. So the fact that you're giving him this advice when you're doing the exact opposite, I just thought was rich.
Listen, like some mega pastors, man, they just don't practice what they preach at times. But it is an interesting concept because I've thought about this before. Like if you and Olivia banded together on a season, right, and did work together in a capacity, like that would be a steamrolling season of the challenge, I would imagine. I don't know. I don't know if either side's open to that, but like
I was coming in, Ben, just so you know, coming into this season, I had no qualms, dude. I could give a fuck less. You know who I was worried about? The new guys, like who I'd never seen before, and fucking Jeremy literally sprinting up a mountain. Me as like finishing first for the vets, but still getting beat by like half of the new threats up that mountain. That's who I was concerned about. I was not coming into this game being like, oh my God, how can I get rid of Olivia? Like that was not even like on my radar, dude. So, we were fine flying over. We spoke before, but again, I think, and she admitted this when she came on, she's like, I'm a fucking ornery, spiteful bitch. And I, carried this along with me. And I just, wasn't ready to match that intensity when I walked into the house. Coming into this episode, you had just won with Michaela, as you said. And did you feel like this was going to, I feel like it was a bad day to win only because it was already a foregone conclusion of who was going to go in. I feel like me being the ultimate loser and then Gabe being the hangnail. Did you almost feel like it was like, God damn it, dude, I have all this power, but, or I should have power right now and I feel like I don't have any?
That was the sense that I took away from it. And I do really wish that we had the opportunity to save a team because maybe I could have replicated that Justin and Olivia strat of like, hey, here's a save. That's an olive branch. Instead, we get the shitty power. And I think Michaela and I were both on the same page before we went to the bar. I told her, I was like, look, the temperature's on Gabe. Yeah. Everybody wants to vote him in. Not much we can do. And she's like, okay, yeah, I agree. And then I just get words and whispers and start hearing like she wants to make a move and this doesn't do anything for her game. And I'm like, why the fuck are you rowing against the entire house? Like you speak so often about the intelligence of this game and being a mastermind, but you want to try and like shift everybody off of Gabe onto a Theo? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And so that's really what caused the rift between her and I, and kind of divorced my opinion of her a bit, because I was like, what are you doing?
Well,
And
let me tell you what she was doing. This is why, I mean, her and I were actually kind of on the same page with this situation. It was just nothing was going to happen. What she was trying to do is go against the grain and do the exact opposite of what this alliance was trying to do. Anything that she could do, it was kind of like the first vote that came down to when we were trying to throw in Jake over Justin. Remember when Rogan was like, I want Justin. I still kind of consider, and I still do, Justin kind of in no man's land. Whereas Jake was part of this Brit alliance that was coming after me. So it's like, all right, if we can put two of their numbers in against each other, that then weakens their alliance, right?
I agree.
So I think what Michaela was trying to do, and I don't know if you kind of knew like what she was 100% like in my corner on my side. What she was trying to do, obviously, was take a Gabe who has, again, a man without a country is just kind of playing his own game, and throw in a Theo or make a big move. That way she could potentially weaken the other side and weaken this alliance. Because what happens sometimes, and you'll see this is because this is a veteran fucking move. This is what we've done from the beginning of time. You create this big alliance. You convince everybody who's never played the game before that it's like, oh no, you're with us. Like, don't worry, we'll show you to the promised land. Okay. And what you do is you get them to vote with you, and you start killing off all the people that are potentially against you. And then they're still at the bottom of the totem pole. By the time they realize, holy shit, maybe I should have band together with the people that they were getting rid of, it's too late. And then you're kind of fucking on your own. So,
and I grasped that, but it was the miscalculation was the heat on the house towards Gabe. I was like, I get putting the same alliance members together, smart, and I'd be down for it, because that week when it was Rogan and you had the Jake and Justin, there was nothing, no ties, right? That was so early on. You could do something like that. But now we've got the context of Gabe fucking up for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was like, this is not the time. I'm sorry, but the context here, I get what you're trying to do, but the context tells me that's not going to happen. And for her to then disagree and in the morning be like, well, I guess it's your decision now. I was like, fuck.
Yeah. You just lit me on fire. You just doused me in gasoline, lit me on fire, and now you're just leaving me out there to burn.
Look, smart move. Listen, smart move. That's a savvy play from Michaela. And, I went with my gut and the idea that I had even before we went out the night before. I was like, okay, Chavez is well connected. This isn't going to flip the house in the heat towards Gabe and shouldn't blow back on me. How poetic, though, right? That the guy that I burned a nom for to put on the block ended up canning my ass a week later.
Do you feel like the night that you and Michaela had power, do you feel like there's anything you could have done differently that may have swayed it in a different direction? Like, do you feel like dressing like Ellen DeGeneres may or may not have affected the sway you had on people going the way that you wanted them to go?
What, you didn't like my divorced lesbian cosplay?
I loved it.
You didn't like my cat?
I loved it. I thought that this was the most epic outfit choice I've ever seen. The biggest moment of Ben's challenge career. I win a challenge. I'm wielding all the power. Let me dress for success. I'm going to do something that is just going to put the fear of God into these people. My sleeveless turtleneck.
Listen, nothing says I'm celebrating the biggest W of my challenge career quite like a sleeveless turtleneck. But to your point, like, what would I do differently? There was that conversation I was having with Michaela much longer than they show. And within it, she starts grilling me about who I'm working with. She's interrogating me, questioning my leadership, where my head's at. And her and I, like, we're working on the same side. And I was like, every now and again, I'd feed her a little nugget here. She'd feed me a little nugget there. And so I was like, okay, we're on the same team. But like during that conversation, I was so frustrated that I kind of fibbed a little bit. She was coming at me with this series, this fire questions. I was like, I just fibbed. She's like, who you working with? I was like, CT. and I chat with Cara, and I chat with Jeremy, and working with Lekka. And Michaela was confused. She was like, "How does that work?"
Yeah.
They're on opposite side of the house. How
What
does
was
that
your
work?
understanding of where she was kind of at?
That's a great question. It's become illuminating watching the confessionals because it does really clarify, where her head was at. I thought she was a bit more in the middle. I knew she was, leaning on the Johnny Bananas side with all of that group. But truthfully, like, she was such a locked jaw in that house with like her cards. I think she did a good job of playing things too close to her chest.
Well, the one thing that was very telling, I feel like, about her, where she stood was the nomination, and I believe it was either the Jake nomination or the one where she decided to not nominate No, I think it was the Jake nomination.
When she stood up.
And I've maintained this. I think that was such a blunder on the setup of the game, because that right there was a very clear line drawn in the house after that nomination of where everybody stood. It was like, you're either with the Brits or you're with fucking Bananas, and and that's it. There's two very clear sides. And it even put some of the vets in hot water, because you had Derek and CT who basically, because even though you were either voting for Jake or
Justin, it was their partners, right? Because again, it's
even
the shot
if
at the
it was a
partners.
vote for Jake or Justin, it wasn't. It was, you're either voting with Olivia or you're voting against her. You're either voting with the Brits or you're voting against them. And after that nomination, I don't think I've ever seen in a game where the game started that fast, where things got that dicey that quick. And then we go and they do the team reshuffle, and it just basically completely just neutralized that entire, and everyone was just like, okay, good. Now we can go back to playing this anonymous game where nobody knows where we stand.
I was so bewildered by this speed at both, the game kicking off and that partner switch. I anticipated it to maybe we'd mix things up halfway through the season. So I'm like investing in Nani. I was like, me and Nani are going all the way, dude. She's attached to my hip. Her fate's my fate. So I'm giving her like everything, every little detail, rookie
every
move,
inch.
Ben's
like, no, I'm giving her all 4 inches.
Look, she's single. I'm not. Not that stops some people, but no, I was giving her just like every secret I could. And then, after the elimination and the partner selection came up, I was just sitting there like, oh fuck, dude, I've messed this one up.
Okay, so let's get into episode 5. This is you coming off of your big victory with Michaela. Isn't it crazy how, and this is how the challenge works, and I always tell people that if you can deal with the ups and downs of how fast your place and your position in the game changes, I mean, that's the key to being able to just deal with the show, because you'll go from one day being on top of the world, you just won, you have all the power in the house, everyone is out fucking sucking your ass, and then you go to the next day where it's like, oh my God, I'm going in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm now being, how do I go from where everybody, like I was the center of attention, everyone wanted to have FaceTime with me, to now it's like, now I'm on the chopping block, potentially going in. And that's kind of like the position that you found yourself in after the challenge. But I just want to get a read on, once now you guys leave, obviously Gabe fucking monster in that elimination. I'm not out of the house. Did it seem like there was a different vibe in the house once I left in regards to the game? Like, kind of now it was like was there like a feeling of like, fuck, now what?
There was absolutely a vacuum that was created. And I think a lot of the new threats felt more confident in bonding together and trying to group up as much as we could. You see the rookie meeting in episode 5, there were a couple more of those type of settings. And Jeremy, he became a little mastermind. Jeremy got a brain on him too. And I think he took point on trying to lead this coalition, because Olivia was the obvious next target. When
did that happen? But see, that's what I think is so funny, is it seemed to me, what it seemed like was, everybody was basically either backing her overtly or covertly, because it was almost like the common enemy and the common fucking theme was to remove me from the house, right?
Yeah.
So it was almost like everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, we'll just like play nice with her and be cool and pretend like we're on her side. But now that I was gone, it was almost as if it was like, holy shit, now we got to find a new boogeyman.
I think it was the threat meter. Yeah. When you were there, the threat meter was high on you. And so kind of overshadowed, the urgency to take some shots at Olivia. But with you gone, threat meters firmly placed on her. And up until I partnered with her, Olivia and I really didn't interact a whole heck of a lot inside the house. I chatted with Theo a couple times here and there, but like I really just did not get a sense of what Olivia was all about. Never really spoke a game with her at all. The reason I partnered with her was because I was like, look, I don't know if I'll come first again, so I got to make the most of this power. Let me get the strongest female in this house at the moment. And I knew that there was going to be heat towards her side. I just didn't know it was going to be up on her. Like I thought it was going to be maybe a mid-tier member, right? We're taking shots at the center, not the top, which is why I picked her in the first fucking place. And then that backfired so poorly.
Yeah. Well, this was my point when we would go into the nominations and they didn't really show it, but I was trying to, as best as I could, because here's the thing, anything that I say, especially to new people, they're going to take with a grain of salt because it's almost as if it's like, oh, well, whatever he's saying, there must be an angle to it. And this guy must be trying to like manipulate me or sway me in a different direction. When a lot of times, like the things that I'm saying, it's just like, yo, and that's why I kept saying to everyone, play your own game. Because I felt like there were so many people that were believing, the propaganda that they were getting about me being, the fucking big bad wolf in the house. I mean, how CT manages to just completely fucking fly under the radar all the time, every season, when it's like everyone gives me credit, yes, for winning 7 times, but he's right behind me. Okay.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, he is a dangerous player. Yet somehow this guy always just kind of, just tap dances his way through the game. Nobody even notices. But my point, what I was trying to let everybody know is it's like, I feel like Olivia had a lot of people under this spell that it's like, getting rid of Bananas is what we need to do. He's the problem. He's the fucking devil. He's the one that's like pulling all these strings and masterminding all this shit. But then I knew this was going to happen. But then as soon as I left, I think it was all, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, or I don't want to put a feeling in the house that may not have been there. But was there any sort of feeling like now that I'm not there, because I'm not there, so I can't tell, that it was like, oh shit, maybe he wasn't as bad as we were led to believe. The real fucking person that's pulling all the strings and the puppet master is actually Olivia.
I don't know about taking the hood off and it's Olivia been the one the whole time. But
like in Scooby-Doo?
Like in Scooby-Doo.
They pull the hat out, they're like, oh, this is the villain.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you and your bananas. No, I think it was more of, we knew the games she was playing. We knew some of the strings she was pulling in tandem with, other people in the house. Like, it was just the clarity that, okay, now she's the target. And I remember Jeremy and I and some other people chatting and like trying to let the lower levels of that UK alliance know, hey, look, Johnny's gone. Where the fuck do you think she's going to start attacking? You're getting chopped off, bud. So maybe, come join this side of things and take her out too. And then we all have a little rat race of, people that didn't come into this season, kingpins and queens, right? That was the sense. And so, I don't know if it was, oh, she was the one all along. It's like, nah, we clocked you too. We put you on the shelf a little bit.
I couldn't tell. Again, I'm very ill-informed in these things. I just have to come up with my own, because nobody talks to me. Like I said,
no one told you shit this season. Yeah,
nobody tells me shit, man. And in fact, it was less than that. Like I'm watching back these episodes and I'm seeing these conversations, especially with Derek and CT, and I'm like, you motherfuckers were plotting against me the whole time too. Like it wasn't like you guys were sitting here being like, I'm gonna stab this motherfucker, but you're like, here's the knife. Why don't you go ahead and do it? I just sharpened it for you. Here's the gun. I'm not going to pull the trigger, but it is loaded. There's one in the chamber ready to go.
Yeah, the safety's off. And that was a sense that I got when she threw me under the bus. Not the funnest of experiences. And it was hearing what she said the next morning and then seeing what had actually played out the night before, kind of different versions.
But before we get to that part, you guys do your challenge. All right. just so you know, I was actually still in Chile when you guys were doing it. I was kind of hearing from I was kind of getting secondhand info. They were like, "Oh, Cara went home. They're replacing her, and now they're doing this." There's like a football challenge where they got to dig poles out and kick them through a fucking thing. I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be interesting." So, how brutal was this? Because I mean, these ones. I mean, it looked difficult. Was this something that? I mean, was this the first time that you were doing the challenge? And you're like, "Holy shit, this is what this is all about."
This was absolutely the worst one of the season, worse than the water tower. And granted, I only got to 5 of the daily challenges, so my sample size is limited. But it fucking sucked. Digging out the poles was, I would say, pretty okay. Like 5 feet deep, sure, but you were able to kind of do a couple tricks and wiggle them out. And transporting them wasn't that bad. They were pretty light. They were PVCs. They didn't show it really that much, but that 500-meter field, the potholes were ridiculous. I mean, canyons. We're talking about crevices that go down to the center of the earth that you could step in. So I was like, fuck. And then we get over there and Olivia and I did have a bit of difficulty getting the crossbar on. I'm not the tallest guy. And so I'm like jumping up, trying to push. I've got the shovel. I'm trying to use the shovel. And then you got Jeremy who just like one arms it over. And I'm just like, again. But filling in was the worst part. That sucked. That took forever. Olivia and I were on pace to finish 3rd or 4th when we'd gotten everything up and started filling that shit in. And we just fell behind, kept falling behind because it took forever. I was like, this is a deep ass hole. I'm transporting so much fucking dirt and it's doing nothing. It's not filling in whatsoever. So,
the dirt was because that's what they didn't necessarily highlight. They made it look like it was so much more difficult digging it out. Yeah. Not necessarily filling it in, but what you're saying is the filling it in part was the one that really
that's what got everybody. That's what soaked up so much time. And, with Jake and Michaela, Jake mentions in the episode how he worked in like construction and plumbing for 10 years and whatnot. And, that makes sense why he blew through that so easily. But not everybody had the experience digging. It sucked. At one point, like, everyone realized you could take rocks and you could sort of build a frame around those little pole posts and then fill it in from there. And that's a quicker way to build it in. CT was pretty funny. He just like kicked, he was up on the dirt mound and just kicks hundreds of pounds of dirt into the little hole and was like, all right, we'll figure it out there. So everyone had different strategies, but Olivia and I, we were.
You always got to, he always has, I mean, him and I have similar games, but different ones. Anytime he always finds, this guy was an engineer. I mean, the guy was the guy in college was a mechanical engineer. So he always finds, tricky little ways to get shit done.
I'd say this quickly. There was a bit of different applications of, I would say, the rules because there were so many of those pits that there were several people going and analyzing and, giving a check. And like on our end, this, because I was next to CT and I believe Sydney, on our end, they were really like, you got to fill this shit in. After we'd finished, we walked by a lot of those earlier teams and I'm looking at their pits and I'm like, that isn't as full as ours. Like those spaces that you have and those rocks are in that spot there. I'm like, we got penalized for that. Like we called check and they said no. So that was a little bit of a bummer. No excuses, of course, but I was just like, damn, we got the draw of some trickier.
You know what? We need to get Jordan Wiley on the case. All right. Jordan, we need you to review footage and we're going to need a full investigation and breakdown into challenge refereeing mismanagement. All right. No, and that's just how it goes, man. I've been there, but see, here's the thing though. Sometimes you're on one side of that. Sometimes you're on the other. That's why it's like, you might be on the side where they're, trust me, nobody watches anyone closer than me every time. No matter what I do, they're like, okay. I feel like they have a fucking, cause they're so used to me finding loopholes and finding ways to cheat. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying, Ben.
I was going to say the daily challenge 1, ball pit. Couple people tossing some balls in the JB direction.
I was tossing balls in my own direction. We were just throwing. They were like, you can't pick up more than one ball and carry them. I was like, yeah, but you didn't say we couldn't doggy paddle them. That's what I was doing. We were just throwing as many as we could back to ourselves. All right. So you guys, you finally get it through the field goal. You didn't come in dead last. That was, Derek took the mantle on that. sometimes after you lose sometimes after a challenge is over, you kind of get a feel like, okay, you look at who lost, you look at where the numbers are at. Did you have any? I mean, Olivia is your partner. You were probably like, I'm chilling. Like, there's no way I'm getting voted in. Just not even necessarily based on me, but based on like Olivia is kind of like
she's my shield. I was like
Yeah.
the social capital she has, even though we fucking sucked in that daily challenge, which I'll take a lot of accountability for, right? I went 0 for 16 or something on my kicks. Not the best kicker of all time that we learned.
You don't say.
I will say this, wasn't shown, obviously. She also kicked a ton and missed.
Yeah, but they want to make it out like her first time, she nails it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, you know, let them have it. Let them have it. But no, I'm thinking we're good. You know, we're totally fine. And like, those were the conversations I had with her, right? Where she's like, oh no, don't worry. We're good. And it's like, okay, cool. So the night out, I'm just having fun, man. I'm risk free.
So you guys go out. The original plan was Derek like trying to shoot. Was he trying to shoot big? Because that's what it seemed like. It almost seemed like he was trying to.
Dude, he wanted Willard. He wanted Willard Yemi. That was it. He was like, I either need a big win to get my confidence back this season or get sent home by one of the best rookies. And there was an element of that night out where he was basing it off of people who talked to him versus who didn't. So like if you checked in with Derek Chavez, he wouldn't go for you, right? But Will and Jeremy, they never checked in with him, and it pissed him off. He was like, why aren't they talking to me, right? Yeah. They should come over and chat and should, you know, try and play a little bit to not get off the chopping block, right? And so it really annoyed him. And when I went and chat with him at the house after we came back, he sat me down. He was like, look, I could ask for you, and it'd be an easier elimination, but I don't want you. And I was like, cool, I agree with that.
Now,
so
Ashley does what what most people in this position intuitively would do. Even if it's a guy's day, they know they're going to be the hangnail. They hear that their partner potentially wants to go in. It's like, abso-fucking-lutely not. You're not going to potentially jeopardize my game because you want to be a hero, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, when they get back to the house, that's kind of the conversation that's taking place. She's outside with Aviv, Theo, and CT, and they're all basically, you know, telling her that she'll definitely be the target next elimination and get voted in, right? So, did you know that night? And this is my question.
Yeah.
What was Olivia's? What was the mindset? Like, what was her angle? What was she trying to do by being like, oh, well, I don't give a fuck. Throw us in. I'll be the hangnail. Was that her saying that because it was almost like she didn't think it was actually going to happen? Or was she actually kind of like putting it out there that she didn't care? I know you didn't find out about it until the next day, correct?
Correct.
At what point did you find out that she was basically putting you guys out there as the house vote?
It was like 9 a.m. the next day. And I think it was, I don't want to say an ego thing necessarily, but like the gall to sort of go, what are they going to do? You know, I don't care being a hangnail. Now, here's the difference though. The story that I was told was Ashley was losing her mind. And I didn't personally buy a lot of those tears because, look, there's so many ifs that have to happen. And granted, I didn't know that they'd literally outright told Ashley, yeah, we're going to target you. We don't give a shit about you being in the house. I wasn't aware of that. But the version I had heard was Ashley's crying. Olivia's comforting her. She's trying to console her. And in that moment, she had said something along the lines of, you know, it wouldn't be that bad. Your game's not over if, you know, Jeremy goes home. You just be a hangnail. I don't mind being a hangnail. Like I wouldn't mind as like a comforting angle.
Gotcha.
And then you see it and it's like, oh no, she's actually almost like sticking the chin up in the air, like, yeah, I don't give a shit about it. Make me a hangnail.
That might have been how it was but when they were sitting there upstairs in the in the couch edge, that's what it seemed like more than anything. Here's my take on it was almost as if it's like, I'm saying this and I'm putting it out there because I know in a million years it'll never happen. So it's almost like you can, I guess in a fight, it would almost be like some guy that's never going to fight the top guy, but calling him out anyways, knowing that the fight's never going to happen.
Yeah. It's the, you know, 1 in a billion chance, right?
Yeah.
No way, no shot. And then, of course.
And then it happens. And you're like, never mind. Not what I was saying. I didn't actually mean that. Oh, did I say I wanted to be? No, that's not what I was saying.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
And she did, like, Olivia apologized the next day. She throws it down and was like, look, I think I messed up a little bit. Here's what I said. And this is how people are kind of twisting it and misconstruing. And that was the angle that
anything. Here's what you don't do. Bro,
yeah,
this
I was
is
gonna say,
what you don't, if you don't want to be thrown in, you don't put that out there because you got everyone, you are looking for any little thing you can latch onto to basically convince other people or to justify making a decision. And if somebody straight up says
they don't mind being
fucking throw me in, I don't mind. It's like, all right.
Yeah, that's what annoys me is like it's such a rookie mistake. I don't think someone with Olivia's experience should have made an error like that. In that moment, you've got Ashley spiraling, everyone saying she's going in. Step back to the sidelines and let it happen. Yes. Don't feel the need to even like interject. If you feel that way, keep it to yourself, you know? And again, not that she like, because we weren't playing together. We weren't on the same page. We weren't aligned. So I get that she doesn't have any care for me. But again, it's self-preservation. Olivia, if I go, you're on the chopping block. Why the fuck wouldn't you, at least for that week, extend the same protection to yourself onto me?
When you watch it back, though, okay?
Yeah.
And as much as you want to sit here and be like, oh, well, Olivia may have spoken, maybe she was trying to comfort Ashley. You do realize her exact quote is, put me in that position. I don't care. What are they going to do to me? Ben is my partner. That's fine. If he was the hangnail and they were to put someone against me, I could give a fuck less.
I honestly could give a less.
That's as clear cut as you get. There's no twisting. There's no misconstruing. She didn't give a shit about me. Yeah. Which is, unfortunate. But like I said, I didn't expect her to care about me. I just expected that self-preservation instinct to kick in and for that week be off the chopping block. I knew her and I weren't really working together again. Like I'm rallying with the boys to try and take her out, in short time. So I was a little bit surprised and caught off guard. But aside from her own mentality towards it, it was there is a level of intelligence I think I can frame the move as, because stylistically, Will or Jeremy would have murdered him in that. So best case scenario, even if that impacts Olivia's game in the short term, if you've got that faith in your social capital that you can be a hangnail and still not get voted in, then maybe burn me, I guess, right, to give Derek the best chance to come back.
So what you're saying is, again, to just put a final button on this, what she said, as much as she wanted the next day to be like, oh, no, you guys, I didn't mean that. You took it completely out of context. It seems like, if anything, it's just a serious case of buyer's remorse. Thou dost protest too much, as Shakespeare would say.
That is, I think, at this moment, after seeing it all, the truth. And I would have, I think I would have appreciated if she was just upfront the morning after and was like, here's actually what I think. Here's what I believe. Because then I, would have, all those things I would have done differently. I would have had greater urgency to do them. But her sort of spinning me the lie the morning after and going, no, you're good, still comforting me, playing me, lulled me into that sense of complacency, which I shouldn't have been there anyways.
On you and telling you it was rain?
Yeah. Forecast. The forecast says little thunder's coming.
Yeah, slightly cloudy with a chance of urine. All right, so the vote comes down. Did you know then going into the vote? Because did you know going into the vote how close this vote was going to be? I mean, did you have any idea like where the numbers were going to lie, that it was going to be a tie, that it was going to be locked? Like, how'd you feel going in?
I felt okay because the way that I'd crunched the numbers on it, it was going to, by one vote, I was going to squeak by. And there were a couple things I didn't expect, which was Anissa.
The Burns.
The fucking Burns votes, dude.
Here's what I hate. I think Gabe's actually pissed me off more than Anissa's. I'm going to vote for myself. Bro, at this point, dude, you have to now pick a side, because this this floating thing is just not going to work anymore, bro, because now it's obvious. You vote for yourself. That is just a vote. It's clear. That's why Burns are so stupid. You might as well just, because it almost makes you look worse.
It was a dumb move from Gabe, but that has I guess, been on brand, as much as I love the guy. But Anissa, like, I literally sat down with Anissa and she gave me this story about this season and how she wants to merge back closer with Olivia and the girls, Aviv, Nani, all of them. She's like, I don't really feel like they're playing with my best interests, and I got to go with someone I'm close to, which is Olivia. And so I'm like, you're telling me for all intents and purposes, you're voting Jeremy. And then to get down there, throw a burn vote, and then we tie in that first round. And then, like, she had no hesitation in the second round, right? Because that's what she wanted to do. If she had done that in the first round, maybe I would have still been on, But it is what it is.
Hate burn votes, dude. The fucking worst. I literally lose all respect for people when they burn, because I'd rather you say my name. I'd rather you just say it with your chest and don't try and make it out like it's something that it's not. All right. Obviously, we get to the elimination. It's the Oppenheimer Hall brawl situation. How relieved was Derek when he realized he wasn't doing it against Will or Jeremy?
He was so happy.
Yeah.
He was,
yeah, dude.
His energy changed quite quickly when we learned that it was a hall brawl. And it clocked for me as we were in the bus going to the arena, because I'm sort of sitting there going, okay, the daily challenge is football themed, right? That means the elimination is in all likelihood going to be football themed as well. Well, I wonder, what fucking football themed eliminations does the challenge have? And so I had the sinking suspicion that, fuck, I'm going into a hall brawl.
Or balls in.
Or balls in, exactly.
Yeah.
But Derek was.
Well, but on the flip side, listen, dude, if you had to go in against someone, that's probably who you wanted to go in against as well, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. I say it, I was like, this guy is, funnily enough, probably the best matchup for me. And, it's tough to say that and then get steamrolled.
You didn't get steamrolled. You just know now going into the next time, you just got to change your form a little bit. Go low. All right. Push the guy back. It is a race, but it's not. If you realize that they've made more progress than you, okay, you got to at least do everything you can. Hold on, pull them. And in the moment, they'll tell you, don't hold on. Don't get them in a headlock. They're not going to DQ you for that. Do everything you can. Bite, scratch, punch, drag. Yeah.
I should have stiff armed, man. I should have just hit the Heisman on him, and put his chin in the side.
Or just, dude, you just gotta lower that shoulder, man, and just brace for impact. You kind of went backwards. Doesn't matter. Again, dude, you live and you learn, and the important thing is you come back to fight another day. So,
amen.
Overall, good experience. You want to come back?
Dude, great experience. I would love to run it back. Like we said so much this episode, there's a lot of things I know I could have done differently. Mm-hmm. And I think winning that daily challenge in episode 4 showed like, oh, Ben is good at some things.
Yeah.
and I think exploring that more in a future season would be a good one. And look, now I got to get my licks back. I got to give some receipts to some people. Sydney telling me that, oh, you're someone I want to run the final with. Like, you're my number 2 on my list, and then voting me in. I'm like, yeah, two-faced bitch. Come on.
Well, that's what the reunion's for. So write all this shit down, and the best advice I can give you, Ben, is just fucking, if you got something to say it. All right. Everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna light this person on fire. They don't say shit. It's like, all right. All right. You're in Manchester. You're announcing a fight. If people want to follow you on social media, or if they want to hear your commentary, or if they want to know what fucking Ben Davis does in his off time, where can they find you?
At Ben the Bane Davis on all platforms. I'm most active on Twitter. But yeah, feel free to follow, watch along anywhere. This Saturday on DAZN, Darren Till, Luke Rockhold, former UFC title challenger versus a former UFC champion, headlining a great card here in Manchester. I can't wait for it. So everybody tune in and follow at Ben the Bane Davis.
Ben the Bane Davis. All right, my man. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on, and I can't wait to see where you go from here. And like I said, man, and you know this in the fight game, it's not how hard you get knocked down or how many times, it's how many times you get back up. So, looking forward to seeing you in the future, man.
I appreciate you, JB.
All right. And with that being said, thank you for stopping by the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, where the tea flows like wine and my guests instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm Oprah, and I love you.